So I have a game that I want to talk about that is actually a preview. So this is a special type of game because as a podcast, for us being a thing from an idea to us doing this on a bi-weekly basis, we have received actually prior to going to Gen Con our very first review copy.
Oh my gosh.
And I kind of want to take this as one of the growing parts of this podcast is that, again, we play games usually like once, maybe twice. I know you probably play games a lot more consecutively than someone like myself, or I usually play a game and I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, like I get it, what have you, move on. This with getting review copies now and being seen as more of a whether it be professional or more serious of a podcast, I really want to be able to take review copies seriously and be able to play a game 3, 4, 5 times, preferably 5 times, and be able to not only talk about this game, but write about it too on our website, which is rollingdoublespodcast.com. And the game that I want to be able to talk about is Re-Chord. So Re-Chord by Yanaguana Games. I want to again preface that this is a review copy given to us by Yanaguana, specifically Marshall Britt, who I am good friends with, who works at Leader Games. So we have interacted a lot in the past through the office and at conventions. I was actually in the office not too long ago, and he's like, hey, would you like a copy of this for your podcast? And I said, I would love to. So this is a preview, not a review, but a preview of Re-Chord, which was on Kickstarter and is delivering now to backers. So
Spell it for me.
it is Re-Chord, spelled R-E-CHORD.
See, I would have known how to spell it if you would have put it in the notes.
Sorry, sir, but it is actually on the nice cover is here.
Oh,
Yep.
I remember it's on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. And it's actually our good friend put it in BGG, our link. So if you'd like to click on that link, for those that are listening right now, you'll be able to check this game out. So what is Re-Chord? Besides it being a very nice play on words, which is really funny because Marshall loves to do puns like once a week. He posts it on Facebook every Friday. So it's great to actually, now coming full circle, Re-Chord being a thing. So let's take a look at the game itself. First and foremost, Re-Chord is a game about playing the guitar. So Marshall is a musician. He has guitars in his office. And the premise of the game is that Re-Chord is a game about being a young, budding musician, and you're either learning how to play the guitar or you're basically just jamming away. And the more chords you play in this game, the more points you get, right? Very simple. And you can play chords multiple times to Re-Chord, meaning playing the same chords over again, and you would be able to score more points by doing that. And there's also a song that you're given at the very beginning of the game, and that song has 3 different chords that you need to play in order to play that song. And if you're able to do that, you play that song in front of you, and you also gain a boatload of points. And then there is a lead guitar scoring section. So you'll notice on this game board, which is a neoprene mat, which comes in every single copy of Re-Chord, is 5 frets. And whenever a fret is filled up with picks, which are, by the way, real guitar picks, you do a lead guitar solo thing, and you count up however many color picks are in that fret, and you write them down on a score pad, and it's used for endgame scoring, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But the big thing I want to talk about is the main mechanics of the game. The main mechanic of this game is playing these picks that are then played onto the frets. So you'll notice that there are 8 different colored picks that are in the game. There's gray, red, blue, green. There's like a darker gray, white's the first color, red, blue, green, gray, purple. There's wild, and then you can actually flip each pick over, and there's like a backside. And each of these colors of picks actually do a special ability. So you can move picks around, you can turn picks over, you can remove them, you can swap things around, which I may have already said. But anyways, it alters the state of the board in minute ways. And as you can see on each chord card that you're given, you have to have the right color of pick in the right position in order to play that chord. So for instance, you can see here in the screenshot that in order to play an E chord, you need to be able to have a red on the first fret and then a green and a gray on the strings for the second fret. And when you do that, you can immediately play that card and score however many points you have, which would be the silver pick listed on the card. If you were to score the E chord again, which is the same setup but different colored of picks, you will then score the Re-Chord, which is the gold pick that you can see there on the card. However, it is tricky. It's really tricky to be able to get a Re-Chord in my playtesting sessions. But again, the goal is you're trying to play as many chords as you can, specifically to be able to play the song that you have in your hand in order to score more points. And that's how the game goes. So really, it's a kind of a simple game in terms of what you do. You can do 3 things during the game on your turn. You can either play a pick from this lineup, place it anywhere on the board and use its action. You may use its action. It's not necessarily needed. You can also just dig into this felt bag. You can pick out a pick, secretly look at it, and place it face down onto the board, which there are some chords that do need that face down pick in order to score. And then the other thing you can do is you can draw 2 cards from this Re-Chord deck that contain different chords, and you always have to have 3 in your hand. You can't have any more than that, and so you have to discard down to 3. And that's how the game functions. So it's very quick. Turns play really fast. And again, you're just playing these picks onto the frets, and you continue to go around. Game takes about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on your player count, and I would say that is about accurate from the amount of time that I've played. There's also a solo mode, so you'll notice that there are some cards that have some solo graphic design to them. I haven't gotten to try that out, which is why I'm not reviewing it. I want to be able to try that before I play my review, because I'm curious how the solo mode works. But that's kind of the rundown on Re-Chord preview wise. Any questions?
So first of all, it's fun to see that theme. Like that as a theme, I think is fantastic. It's different. It's really fresh. It's fun. Those picks look really cool, and that's just that gameplay and I don't want to say simplistic, because that almost has a negative connotation to it, but it seems very elegant, I would say. Just a bit, that sounds super interesting.
Yeah. So some key items that I want to go down here. First off, let's talk about theme, right? The idea of being a musician, incorporating frets on a guitar, and even more, I think, interesting and well researched and done by Marshall and the Yanaguana team is that each chord is a real chord on a guitar. So when you're playing a D chord, you are literally putting your fingers into that position in order to play the D chord. Same with the E chord, right? The C chord. So being able to do all of that and have that, a musician, I really wanted to play this with board game musicians. I know a few. So I was like, hey, is this what it is? And they're like, absolutely, which is really cool. Cool. There's also, as you can see, different types of styles of guitars, and there's also a lot of different genres that are reflected throughout the game as well too. So you got metal, you got blues, you got alternative, you got jazz. So you have a wide variety, the whole spectrum of these main genres of music that you play throughout the game. Production value wise, literally top notch. Neoprene mat comes, cool. Neoprene mat comes with every copy of the game. You get a lanyard, which is, I don't think, needed. It's just they give you a lanyard. I have to check, but they give you a lanyard, and then they're real guitar picks, right? And guitar picks, from what I've heard, are not cheap. Let me switch back over to the live section. I think we've had enough of looking at that screenshot, but so the real guitar picks, right? So
Yeah.
he did, mention, like, he had to really work hard in terms of finding a guitar pick manufacturer that would do this batch of guitar picks,
Yeah.
to be able to work it for him. Card quality is, fine, your standard thing, whatever. But truly, it's just like he really went out of his way to being like, neoprene mats are the way to go. Guitar picks, I mean, they could have easily been bits, right? He could have
Yeah. Oh,
easily just
totally.
did punchboard of bits and made that be a thing, right? But he didn't. He made it legit guitar picks, which just adds to that whole theme.
Or like cardboard fingertips would be really weird
Yes, exactly.
because you're put. No, okay, never mind. All right.
Oh yeah, I see that. No,
You're putting your finger on the. No, okay, that was
yeah,
stupid.
no, you're. Yeah, that was stupid.
It was stupid. Hey, so the question though is, how would you compare it to Scythe?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding. I'm
Well,
just
let me
kidding.
think. Because 0 out of 10 would not compare again.
Not to go-
No, they have
No, I know.
zero.
I'm just kidding.
They have like similar colors. Like I'm pretty
Oh, okay.
confident like the color white, the color gray existed somewhere in that game.
Sometimes when I start explaining a game, I'll just compare it to Uno. So like when we're playing Vindication, I was like, okay, this is like Uno, but with a board.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just
Oh
okay.
my
Sorry, continue.
So, yeah, in all, again, talking about, theme, production values, like 10 out of 10. I think they went out of their way to be able to really make this, I think, one of the best like games about guitars and music that I've personally have seen in the board game genre, which is really cool. Gameplay is easy to pick up and go in terms of placing these picks. The only real thing that comes from it is just those first couple of games where you're trying to understand the color of pick, what you have to do in order to, like, when you play it, what is the action that comes with it, right? And then when you understand what that action is, what's the best move you can make with that, right? So there is a little bit of AP, I would say, for beginners, that comes with that, which leads me to one of the biggest concerns I have about this game. And I don't want to make this seem like it's a bad thing, but it is a concern because when I've played this with people, they have voiced their concerns about this, and the concern is about the quote unquote take that element of the game. So I made mention that some picks will flip over picks, they will remove adjacent picks, or even clear a fret of a whole entire fret in the game, right? But depending on what you play. So what can happen is that as you are playing a chord and building towards a chord, your progress, especially in higher player count games, can be reduced, if completely nullified at times, right? And it was interesting. I had been reading other reviews of this game, and that was a concern mentioned by another reviewer. And he's like, while that is an element of Take That, he doesn't believe that it is that whole concept in the game. Like, it's not a Take That game. The reason is that you don't really know what your opponents are playing. They don't know what you're playing. You're just trying to do the best you can in order to play what you have in your hand, and that you do end up kind of, in a way, like whoopsieing everything. You're like, oh, whoops, you were doing that, like you didn't know. And so you end up kind of like, you end up reducing the progress of a player when you didn't know, right? So that's a concern. However, I think the game plays fast enough, and the fact that I didn't make mention about the chord cards earlier is that chord cards can score at any time. They don't necessarily score on your turn. They score on anybody's turn. So there can be a way in which, through the playing of picks, that a chord card that you necessarily didn't set up for ended up falling into place, which you can play out of your hand. So the thing about that is that for me, yes, it's a bummer, but you end up, for me, it was like, okay, how can I then set up a chord? Like, because again, that's what you want to do, right? Is you're playing picks that gear you towards being able to set up for playing your chord. And then what ends up happening is that as you start getting kind of this accidental take that ish element in the game, it becomes a matter of, okay, I need to start picking up, things from the bag and get a color that I like and put it face down so that someone might be able to turn it over, or I can turn it over at a later time to kind of secure that spot, or to be able to maybe play outside of my area and move into it later, knowing like you're trying to maybe position yourself better versus being telegraphing it so much. The problem is though is that for newer players, especially those maybe geared towards music, are going to always play that way, and they're going to have this interaction, and they're going to feel that at the end of the game. And my worry is that if people don't have the same type of mentality that I do in terms of being like, okay, I need to change up my strategy, they're going to be like, I'm trying to do this, I'm getting cut off by you even though you didn't mean to. I'm not having any fun. That's my biggest concern about this game and what people will pull out of it. And my hope and goal to those viewers that are listening to this video is that I really hope that you don't take that too seriously, or don't take that as something that, and maybe you will, have that interaction and it's just not for you, and that's totally fine. For me, though, that's how I viewed it, and I don't want to necessarily say that it's wrong or things. It's just sorry, I iterate myself, but truly, like, I really want to warn players that you have to kind of go into this game knowing that you will get like progress reduced, and that you really need to take it at a different level.
So if you think about games like Survive, I don't know if you've ever played Survive.
No.
Where you are, there are six or so meeples for each player, and you're trying to get them off an island, but you're also using animals like sharks and sea monsters to eat the other people's meeples, and the meeples that get eaten just do not score at the end of the game. So it's a very like kind of aggressive take that mechanic in it. However, in the game, it doesn't matter because that's kind of the game, right? Where it is about the attitude or like the mental state you go into the game with. So yeah, that's really interesting. I wonder if this, like you're saying, it depends how your attitude towards the game is when you start it.
Yeah,
that'll affect you. I'm interested. There's a link in the chat for pre-ordering it if you guys are interested. It's only $30 for pre-order, which at that price, like that's
the it's I'm like at a loss for words, but yeah, the production value is there. If it's a $30 game, and I'm fairly confident that it's like the same thing, like you're gonna get the same material. I don't think he's going for a cardboard board or anything like that, or chits. Like, you're going to get all of that. Like, the thing that maybe you don't get is like a guitar miniature or something, right? I don't know. In any case though, like, maybe you won't get the lanyard, right? But the lanyard is like whatever. But you do get the guitar picks. You get the essentials that make what that game pop, right? And so that's the thing. So that's just my heat of warning, and I'll mention that in the review as well. But again, don't take it too seriously. Learn from it, adjust, and go from there. So with that, that's Re-Chord by Yanaguana Games.